As I said, I'm breaking the most important design principle of programming called try. Do not repeat yourself at many places. Like you can see, I have used this weather image URL here in my search.html, weather.html, and forecast.html. Even this temperature conversion code is also repeated. What if tomorrow we want to change this code? We need to do these changes in all of these places. Also, this date time conversion, I have repeated it in my weather controller and forecast controller. All of this is duplicate code, which can become a maintenance problem later. So let's encapsulate all of this code at some place, and guess what? Service would be a good choice to encapsulate it, right? So I'm going to use my weather service only to encapsulate all of these methods as these are related to weather service. So I'm going to create my first method called getWeatherImageURL, which will be a function called getWeatherImageURL. Let's implement this function. It will take icon name as an argument. Let's cut this URL from here and paste it here. Add icon name to it and file extension png. As we know, all images are ping only. Now I don't like to keep this service URLs hard-coded here inside my service. So I'm going to create a new file called weather.config, and I'm going to refer my data module. Then I'm going to use the value function of a module, give it a name of weather image URL, move this URL from here as a value to this function. This value function is one more way of creating dependencies of AngularJS, using which we can define string values or even objects. Now let's include this file in main HTML file. Let's inject the URL here and use this URL instead of hard coding. Similarly, we can take out these hard-coded URLs from these three functions: find by location, get weather, and get forecast. So I'm going to name it weather service URL, paste the URL, inject it, and use it instead of hard coding. Cool. So our code is getting cleaner now, right? Next, I'm going to create one more function for getting country flag image URL. Implement the function. Take this URL and add it as a value here inside config file. Inject it. Use this country flag image URL and icon value passed as an argument. Append it with a PNG value. As this icon name is in uppercase, I need to convert it to lowercase. Let's write one more function to convert Kelvin value to degrees. Implement the function. And finally, the getTime function, which will convert the past time number value to date. So I'm going to cut this function from controller and move it here inside service. Okay, so all of our reusable methods are encapsulated in a service. Let's use them in our templates. First, here inside my search.html, replace this weather image calling the getWeatherImageURL function, passing icon as an argument. Let's do the same with flag image, calling country flag image URL function. Let's wrap this temperature values with Kelvin to degree function. Next, let's open the weather.html file. First, replace this weather image URL with a function call, then the temperature. Finally, let's open the forecast.html and do the changes here as well. Cool. So we have injected our service methods here inside our views, but AngularJS will look for all of these functions on controller and not on the service. So I'll need to define all of these functions here inside all of these controllers, injecting the service and calling these methods. You can see I did the same for one of the controller, my search controller. But I'll need all of these methods in my other controllers as well. So I need to copy and paste all of these methods to all of my other controllers. And doing the same means I'm again breaking the dry. I'm repeating my code once again. So what we can do here? Any suggestions? Well, here we can take help of controller inheritance. And I'm gonna copy all of these methods from here and paste it here inside my shell controller, as shell controller is a parent controller of search, weather, and forecast controller. Then we need to inject our weather service to make this code work. Next, let's do some final cleanup in controllers. As I have defined getTime function in shell controller, I don't need this here and as well as here. Let's run the application for the final time. Search for some city. Here we got the results. Click on one of the result. We got the detailed weather. Click on the show forecast button. We got the forecast. Click on back to weather details. Great. The app is working fine. Well, so how did you find the whole journey of this application using modularized approach? What do you think about this approach? Will it gonna help in writing big applications? I know there are many ways of writing code and each approach has its own area of improvements. So feel free to post doubts as well as suggestions in the discussion section of this module.